Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my full Black Panther Wakanda Forever post-credit scene, my explaining the ending of the movie. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos, because there is a whole bunch of stuff that they set up in this movie for future movies that we have to talk about. I'm working on a full breakdown Easter eggs for the entire movie. That'll post tomorrow as well. Careful for spoilers if you haven't seen the end of the movie yet, but I'll start with Namor's ending scene, because it's probably one of the most important scenes from the end of the movie before the actual post-credit scene. They used special subtitles to distinguish when characters were speaking different languages, like there was Namor's original Mayan language, like this ancient language back from the 1600s. Those were the blue subtitles. The yellow subtitles were for when they were speaking native Wakandan, and then they just spoke English without subtitles. So anytime Namor is talking to his other people like Namora in this ending scene, they're speaking in their home tongue using the blue subtitles. Namora is all pissed off about the way that their final battle with the Wakandans and Black Panther went down, and asked Namor why he knelt to the Black Panther in Wakanda. Why would you do something like that? He claims that Black Panther is the most powerful person on the planet in the most powerful nation on the surface world, and they formed a strong bond with their shared tragic histories, the loss of their families. They found common cause in that final battle. That's why she didn't kill him. And now that they're much more closely bonded, like they actually feel like they could be friends, eventually, if Namor waits, the surface world will come for Wakanda and their vibranium, kind of like they teased earlier in the movie. The rest of the world wants everything that Wakanda has, and when they do that, Shuri, Black Panther, will turn to Namor for help, and that will finally fulfill his idea of an alliance between their two powerful empires, and together they'll burn the rest of the world, which he was talking to Shuri about earlier. You said earlier, and I heard you on the beach, you wanted to burn the rest of the world. So Namor is still planning long-term his attack against the surface world. That has not ended. He's just waiting for Wakanda's time of need, which I believe that they're going to pay off, or it'll culminate in Captain America 4, New World Order, or in the Thunderbolts movie. Because that was what the whole Val plot was setting up. The idea that she wants Wakandan vibranium. She wants all vibranium to be controlled by the United States. She even told Everett Ross and the others inside the building that she dreams of that, meaning she will eventually, one day, invade Wakanda, probably with the help of the Thunderbolts. I just did a video about this a couple weeks ago, like that's the whole idea why she's assembling this team, people who are powerful enough to fight this new Black Panther, the forces of Wakanda. I'll talk more about that in a separate video, because there's like a billion other things that the movie set up that don't have anything to do with the actual post-credit scene. That's more about the future of the Black Panther character and the Black Panther sequels. The post-credit scene is more of a mid-credit scene. Usually Marvel movies have two post-credit scenes. This time they only had one for a very specific reason, and it was more of a mid-credit scene. After a brief time jump at the end of the movie, they show that Shuri has traveled to Nakia's home in Haiti to spend time with her and perform her ritual Wakandan grieving ceremony like she meant to do at the beginning of the movie, burning her Wakandan funeral garments from T'Challa's burial. And it was their way of saying goodbye to the ones that they've lost, like moving on with their lives. They have a really cool montage and flashbacks to actually pictures of T'Challa, like that's how T'Challa was in the movie himself, Chadwick Boseman. They just included footage from previous movies when characters were remembering him, particularly Shuri's character. When she completes the ceremony, she finds that Nakia has brought T'Challa's son to meet her. His Haitian name is Toussaint, but his true Wakandan name, he says, is Prince T'Challa, son of King T'Challa. He says he was named after his father, just to make everything clear. Like, Shuri knows immediately who he is. Like, wait a minute, this is your son? That means that he's T'Challa's son. So you see the wheels turning in her head. But there were probably a couple people in the audience that just didn't get it, so they had the child actually say it. I am the son of King T'Challa. My name is T'Challa. Nakia explains that older T'Challa had told her about his illness that was slowly killing him before the snap, so she had made plans to help raise the boy outside of Wakanda, away from the throne, no matter what. That was before the events of Avengers Infinity War, like she got pregnant before Infinity War. That means even if he had lived, like even if he came back after the snap and nothing bad had happened, they would have still raised the boy away from Wakanda in the throne, so that he wouldn't have been overburdened as a child with all the expectations of someday becoming king and becoming the next Black Panther and living up to his father's legacy. T'Challa wanted him to have a normal childhood, and this actually flows with the comic book version of Black Panther. Ryan Coogler talked about this very particular storyline, and I think that they're adapting it for T'Challa's son, young T'Challa. I'll explain that in a second. There was a really cool clip of Ryan Coogler talking about this, like, oh, they're just gonna do that for his son. Nakia also explains that Shuri and T'Challa's mother, Ramonda, met him before she passed away. She knew all about him and kept the secret herself, because earlier in the movie, she says her entire family is gone, but notice that she doesn't say that her entire family is dead. She just says gone. And this is just part of them keeping the boy secret, because young T'Challa asks Shuri, Auntie Shuri he calls her, if she's good at keeping secrets, meaning they won't tell anyone in Wakanda or anyone else around the world for that matter, like the Avengers, any other potential allies of theirs, about him for years. Nakia says that he was born after the snap, so she was already prepared for T'Challa to die, and when he was snapped, she left before her pregnancy became obvious or before she was discovered by the other Wakandans. She gave birth to him shortly after the 5-year time jump had started, so charting the timeline of the snap, this movie is meant to take place about 3 years after Avengers Endgame, around the same time as Thor Love and Thunder and Ant-Man 3 Quantumania. There's actually a very special Easter egg for Ant-Man Quantumania earlier in the movie that I'll talk about during my full breakdown on Easter eggs for the entire movie. You may have spotted it. It's like a blink and you'll miss it Chiron kind of Easter egg on the news. They did the same thing with Thor Love and Thunder inside Spider-Man No Way Home. Like there was a Thor Easter egg inside Spider-Man No Way Home. But this timeline means that young T'Challa is about 7, maybe like a little over 7 years old, not quite 8 years old. And now Marvel's plan is that M'Baku will take the throne of Wakanda, like they're separating the roles of Black Panther and the ruler of Wakanda, because he shows up for the ceremony saying that Shuri will not join us today, and everything's good between them, like they don't have any beef between the two of them. Shuri does not want to take the throne. And once young T'Challa is old enough to come into his power, they'll likely do that in a future movie where he'll wind up fighting M'Baku, challenging him for the throne, and become the next king of Wakanda, like his father. Now, if you think about the timeline of the movies and all the phases, we have Secret Wars coming up at the end of Marvel Phase 6. I think it's going to be closer to like Black Panther 4 before they try to do something like that, just because of how long it takes for Black Panther sequels to come out. I don't think they're going to wait that long for Black Panther 3 to come out. And while M'Baku is sitting on the throne doing the day-to-day business of ruling Wakanda, Shuri will just continue being the current Black Panther until young T'Challa is also old enough to take that mantle as well. But I think it's the same idea. Like, if he's old enough to beat M'Baku in a challenge, like physically strong enough, then by that time he'll also probably be ready to take the mantle of Black Panther from Shuri. They also did this thing in the movie where a bunch of characters either get fired from their jobs or they just quit their jobs and go off and do different things, which explains why they can have crossovers with other movies while Wakanda is busy doing Wakandan things. Like, M'Baku's gonna be watching the fort while all these other major characters like Shuri's Black Panther, Okoye's character, go off and do other things in other movies. What I'm expecting, though, is that we'll see young T'Challa, like this young actor here, in a Young Avengers project before he becomes the next Black Panther. Probably other movies, too. I mean, it's going to be a while because he's so young right now. We might see him a little bit during Black Panther 3, like another reminder. Oh yeah, by the way, he's a little bit older, but he's still not quite ready to become the next Black Panther or the next King of Wakanda. But we'll see more of him and they'll develop his character, and then eventually, by the time he is ready to fight M'Baku, challenge him for the throne, and take the mantle of Black Panther, we'll have already seen him in a couple movies, and it'll be sort of like a Spider-Man arc inside the MCU, where you see him mentored for a while, and then eventually come into his own. As opposed to the original Black Panther who showed up already being Black Panther. We posted all the Lion King memes when the first Black Panther came out. Like, for T'Challa's character, they were going with a lot of themes from the Lion King. Now it's basically the same idea with his son. Like, the first Black Panther movie was more like the beginning of the Lion King. The Black Panther Wakanda Forever post-credit scene is more like the end of the Lion King movie. And talking about the long-term plans of Marvel inside the MCU, like which characters are going to be really huge down the road, I think they're positioning young T'Challa as this next Black Panther to be sort of like the crown jewel of the MCU, kind of like Spider-Man is right now. Really popular character that everybody loves around the world, and a lot of the MCU story turns around them. Just going to take a little while for him to age up into that, just going to be a hot minute before he gets there. This is the clip of Ryan Coogler where he kind of foreshadows what the story of young T'Challa is going to be.
Lost his father very young, and basically he was like a boy king, you know, and then went away for a little while, comes back and then inherits the throne as a young man. And by the time he's T'Challa's age in the MCU, he's been a king for a long time, you know, and been without a father for a long time, you know, and so that character was much different. And so I was trying to figure out how to incorporate these books into this story that I was inheriting and trying to flesh out.
So in that clip, he was talking about adapting the original Black Panther movie because in the comics, the original version of T'Challa grew up away from Wakanda, like he grew up in America. When he came back to Wakanda to become king and be the full-on Black Panther, his father had already died, so a lot of his story was him figuring that out without having the benefit of his father there to teach him about it. And now in the MCU, that's going to be the story for young T'Challa, probably. He'll have to figure out what it means to be Black Panther, what it means to be the king of Wakanda without the benefit of his father there. And if they were ever to bring a version of Chadwick Boseman back inside the ancestral plane to speak to someone, it would probably be to young T'Challa when he eventually takes the throne and takes the mantle of Black Panther. Maybe they'll do like a CG Force Ghost version of Chadwick Boseman then, but only then. If you have any other questions about what happened in the post-credit scene or at the end of the movie, just write them in the comments below. My full breakdown and Easter eggs video will post tomorrow where I'll talk about everything that happened during the movie. Everyone click here for that video. I'll update the link as soon as I post it, and click here for my brand new Deadpool 3 video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.